and welcome to Askimo TV. We're here with Graham Price, who is a multidisciplinary therapist, a coach and a trainer. And today we're talking about stress. Graham, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how we can reduce stress.
Absolutely. Well, there's a number of approaches, I guess, that have been used over the years. Clearly, if we know what's stressing us, then it always makes sense to try and deal with whatever it is that's creating the stress. So that would be a sensible starting point, I guess. Often that's not easy or not possible, and so it's useful to try and deal with the stress itself. If we can't kind of remove the problems that are causing it, or can't immediately remove them. And there are some traditional approaches like relaxation, and exercise is very good for stress. So they would be two things that would be worth doing: getting some relaxation, getting some exercise. But the more modern approaches for dealing with stress are what we call acceptance-based approaches. Acceptance action therapy, for instance, would be a typical or probably the most advanced acceptance-based approach. And that would get people to understand, for example, that when they're stressed, they're always resisting something. They're always wanting something to be different, or they're resisting the symptoms they have of stress. So, for instance, they may be resisting their anxiety, they don't like that, or resisting insomnia or whatever. So resisting generally means having negative thoughts about it. So if we can identify all the negative thoughts that people are having about either whatever's stressing them or about the symptoms of stress itself, then we can start to turn those negative thoughts around into something that's more accepting. So we can get people to be more accepting of their surroundings and their circumstances, and more accepting of what's going on inside them, the symptoms of stress. And if you can do that, which is what acceptance action therapy aims to do, then that will greatly diminish and often eliminate the stress that people are experiencing.
Yeah. And what are the identifying signals that I'd be experiencing acute stress, or stress that's worth addressing?
The most common symptoms of stress would be, first of all, anxiety. People are quite likely to be experiencing anxiety of some sort if they're stressed. So that anxiety symptoms are things like the heart beating faster, breathing becoming a little bit more accentuated, perspiration, those sort of things, digestive problems. So those are sort of the symptoms of stress. And people will quite often be experiencing a level of anxiety when they're stressed. Sometimes the anxiety can get quite extreme, and people can be experiencing panic attacks and those sort of things when they're stressed. That would be one set of symptoms. Another common symptom of stress would be insomnia. So if people are stressed, they often have their sleep patterns impacted in some negative way, and that can be quite disturbing. And of course, all of those things can accentuate the stress. You know, people are experiencing anxiety or losing sleep, then that can make their stress more accentuated. Other symptoms might be things like experiencing anger or irritation a lot, or eating a lot. So some people end up eating more and putting on weight when they're stressed. So there's lots of emotional and behavioral issues that can arise when people are stressed.
And so if I'm noticing those things in myself, would you say that therapy is the best option, or can I take steps to remove the factors in my life?
Well, if you can remove the problems that are generating the stress, then that would be a great place to start. But that often isn't easy, or it isn't possible. And so if whatever is generating the stress is remaining for one reason or another, then you have to deal with the stress. And dealing with the stress, and I've just mentioned one very powerful therapy called acceptance action therapy, which is very good for resolving stress by moving people out of resistance and into acceptance. When we talk about acceptance, we're not talking about accepting the issue and not doing anything about it. We're talking about something called accepting what is, which is accepting the present moment. Very powerful thing to learn to do, to accept everything that's going on right now and then do something to change it or fix it. So that's an example of a therapy that's very good for stress. Many therapies will be helpful for dealing with stress. If you can deal with the emotional or the problems that are generating the stress or the behavioral problems that are maintaining it, excuse me, then that's going to be helpful. So therapy is useful. But there are a lot of good stress management trainings around as well. So it doesn't have to be therapy. The sort of tools that are good for stress can be taught in a training rather than a therapy. So we ran stress management trainings in my company, Askimo, and they're very effective. So you don't need therapy if you've got training.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much, Graham. That's been really helpful to understand a bit more about the causes of stress and what steps we can take to alleviate it. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Good talking to you.